Hey everybody, we're back. I'm Logic, and this is Obsessed Sites,
Yeah, hello.
and this is our Star Citizen podcast, where we just try and get through the latest and greatest information about Star Citizen, and bitch a bit, and then smile a bit, and gush a bit. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, it's important to note that at the moment we're doing this two around the verses at a time. So we go back to 2 weeks ago, and then we'll do this week's now. So a bit of archaeology for people who aren't completely and are totally up to date. That might change going back to the weekly podcast once 3.0 is here, but just a bit of an explanation there with people who are new to the channel.
I think you should actually close your window, buddy. I can hear the cars going by.
That would be a real pain in the ass. They'll just have to deal with the cars.
Okay. Okay. So this last week's 2 weeks ago was burned down. There was 76, and then there was 26.
Hello,
beginning of last
and
week.
welcome to another episode.
So they did it quite a lot, but that was just mainly because of the fact that they sort of like prioritized the most important bugs to get the game out.
Yeah, Erin got involved and made everybody focus on what's important, which was really good to see.
It was like, and that's what I've been saying. They should just cut this, like everything needs to get done before the bugs, before the release to Evocati. It was like ridiculous. And I'm glad Erin had the sense to be like, this is silly, guys. We can't do this. This is going to take. We won't be going to Evocati till Christmas at this rate, So
yeah, it's good. Maybe it was run by people beneath Erin or Chris in the in the actual hierarchy of CIG, and somebody or Erin all decided just to take control of it. But yeah, it's good. 26 bugs. We were all excited.
I'm very excited. I mean, technically, it's down even less than that now. I think it's, we'll discuss that later, but I think it's at 5 now, which means probably Evocati next week. And these little...
5?
Yeah. Probably means, next week I was thinking. That was when I saw 5, I was like, well, give them a week to iron out any sort of, like, bugs that pop up when they sort of push it onto a live build, onto, like, the servers and stuff, and so have people go onto it. Because it's going to cause problems.
Yeah, exactly.
So this episode was mainly about the mission system, but there was a little bit about the burn down, and I do actually like these burn down segments. They're really interesting.
Yeah, let's hope they keep it for all of the major releases at least, because obviously in itself the burn down will take up some resources to actually get things recorded. Not a huge amount of time, but maybe an hour per person we see talking per week. But maybe they'll do it for every single release from now on, because people seem to like it.
I like it a lot. I think it's really good. I think it's way better than having release dates. It makes much more sense. And I think now that they've gone away from this sort of like everything must be done before even Evocati sees it, I mean that's the icing on the cake as far as I'm concerned, because that just makes more sense,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a much more sensible way of doing it.
Seems to be a lot of other people saying that they like it as well, which is good. So I think they probably will end up repeating this format. Which is good.
Indeed.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else really to mention about the burn down, apart from the fact that they mentioned in quite a bit of detail about having reservation tokens on the servers that your players are in, so that if you get disconnected ungracefully, whether it be your internet connection craps out for a bit, or your client crashes, when you log back in, you don't end up having to go right to the front of the back of the queue. You can actually go back where you were onto the same servers that you were on previously before you got disconnected, which is going to help a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be very helpful to have a system where if you die or you like disconnected, you can just come back in where you were. I mean that's kind of like no-brainer, really. I mean, you got to have that.
Yeah, exactly. Especially in a first-person game like this. I mean, in something like Warcraft, you get kicked out, you go back in when it's busy, which doesn't happen much these days, and you're in the queue, it can be annoying. But obviously, this, if they implement this when the game goes live, as well as in the alpha stages, it will make player experience that much better.
So, okay. So is this the, where does it go to? Mission system is starts where?
The first video, which we were going to mention to, was on 1635.
Okay.
I think this is this week's, I think.
Oh, this is this week's. This is
the air traffic
oh,
control stuff.
16th. And 1635. There we go.
Yeah.
So, what did you think about the mission system?
It's obviously an incredibly complicated beast, but by the same token, looking at this work through in the video here, whilst we're talking about it, there's an awful lot of bits of it that you can actually just save and use as a template for a different type. So, if the game engine needs to spawn something, like I need to spawn a item for this, there might be a section in the mission planner for spawn whatever object and place it wherever it needs to be. And all the designers have to do is copy that chunk of logic from the actual from the game design, the mission system, and then just tweak a couple of bits rather than having to write the whole thing from scratch, which should mean a lot more flexibility around creating these quests iteratively for crafted quests or missions. And also, the procedural ones, but where they have common bits of logic, get it right once, and as long as they've tested the Jesus out of it to make sure there's no bugs in it, it'll be perfect and make recreating the same kind of mission over and over again a lot easier. And if they do need to update it, they only have to update the logic once, and it applies to all of them.
Yeah. That is key to like maintaining a large system. Sort of less man hours maintaining a system. If there's a problem, you don't have to go and do like 70 copies of it. Across the board. So I mean, they definitely have a good system. It sounds like to me, like you get a mission, it can appear anywhere in the solar system, like the objective, and it also can be anything like medical supplies. It could be like drugs, depending on various variables. And it could be like a deliver, it could be a steal. It sounds to me like there's billions of combinations of different types of missions, which should make it fairly robust in terms of like being boring in terms of the mission. It's like, oh, I have, go collect some medical supplies and then bring it to this location. It's not that. It's more like you don't know where you're going to be headed, or you don't know what you're going to be collecting until you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I found the location and I have picked up the box is obviously going to be the same sort of deal, but everything else around it, like you might have a bit of dog fighting first to get there because it could be defended. It might be only defended when you get to the surface of a planet. Lots of different bits. The actual flavor of the quest can be changed all around the individual bits of logic, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think it's gonna make it a much more enjoyable experience for like grinding out stuff, and it won't feel like grinding so much, like a lot of games.
It's certainly not going to be go and kill 10 rats and bring me their giblets like you have in other games.
Or like go kill 10 rats and then, bring me their eyes, and then, what about the rest of it? But I always find that annoying in games where, you don't get an eye from a drop of a rat. What, this rat doesn't have eyes,
You smush their head in when you hit them with your big two-handed sword, mate. That's what happened.
That's what happened. Yeah, every single rat for like 6 rats in a row, I smushed their head in. I remember that in EverQuest. You like to kill 100 rats or something to get one tail.
Yeah, that was just bad drop rates on it. Let's be honest.
Stupidness.
The lesser spotted tailed rat was quite.
Yeah. Oh dear. So they're also talking about NPC pathing.
Yep.
What was there?
We skipped past it. That was on 1855. That was where you saw the NPCs wandering around the corner.
Yes, that's right. So what was that? What were they saying about that? I forget. This problem 2 weeks ago. I forget what they said.
Yeah, which is why we might have to rethink this. We've changed it just for the viewers' information. We've switched this around now. So we've done it last thing at night, Logic's time this time, and first thing in the morning, my time, rather than the other way around before. Mainly because I literally have to switch on like a bloody light bulb to feed the kids first thing in the morning. So I tend to turn on quicker, if you know what I mean. But yeah, so it's all good. Anyway, so going back to the pathing, what was that about? I think it was literally just an improvement in the code, if memory serves. Again, I'm having the same problem as you are. I made notes, but they weren't copious notes.
Yeah, it wasn't a whole. I mean, it was a good. There's a lot of information in here if you want to sit and sort of sift through it, and like you could like check out what the spawns, the settings that possibly could be. I'm sure someone's just gone through and said, "Oh, that's CVAR or that variable and that variable and that variable," and you can adjust it in so many different permutations.
Yeah. I did think about taking a couple of screenshots and seeing whether I could clean it up and read up what they are. I thought, no, I'll just bore people because only me and you probably find that interesting.
I'm sure there are plenty of other people that find that interesting. Because I can't imagine we're the only two people that find that interesting.
Well, the only two people who watch this podcast at the moment.
Oh yeah,
potentially.
Probably. I like that they can like live set the timers and stuff like that's really cool. That is the sort of live. Oh, right now I want to make the timer at 10 seconds so I can test it, and then you can just set it back to whatever, and it's the live as opposed to like having to rebuild the whole thing and then test it and then rebuild the whole thing.
Yeah.
And
they got some fantastic development tools now.
Yeah, they're starting to really sort of coming into maturity, a lot of them as well, which is really good to see.
Yeah, once we're getting to the point now where they've got a lot of the tools they need to really mash out some content. It's just literally just the complexity of this game is such that everyone's just got to have a bit more patience, really, and that includes us because we've been guilty of being a bit too on the old bitchy side of things recently. So
I don't know. I think I was pretty fair. I think I was really fair with the whole like ridiculousness of them not going to Ivocati, and I think they changed it, so it wasn't that stupid an idea.
Maybe Erin's one of our subscribers, and he thought, yeah, they've got a real good idea there. Let me go do that now.
No, that didn't happen, but okay.
Well, you never know.
Okay, yeah. Out of our like 30 odd 40 subscribers, yeah, that happened.
Don't diss the subscribers, man. Thanks for subscribing, everybody.
I just think Aaron's not watching our podcast, but it could be wrong.
Probably not.
No.
Yeah.
We don't have time.
We haven't got. We don't have enough followers.
He's super busy, dude. Come on.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, overall, I mean, they were talking about there's two different types of missions. There's the story type, which you get from the mission givers like Eckhart and so on. Mm-hmm. The on-demand type, which are like pseudo procedure generated but based on predefined mission templates. And these will be given out, and all of it will be dealt with by the mission broker, which is like some overarching bit of code
AI
controls
in the background.
Yeah. Which controls which kind of missions are available based on the current emergent gameplay on that particular system.
Just about to say, like, sort of like the political issues that are occurring, say like the pirates have been attacking, and it takes that into account, the fact that there's a lot of pirate activity right now, and gives the missions based on that sort of information. Or there's a lot of police in the area, and it gives the missions based on that information. Sort of well, maybe drug running was a bit more lucrative because there's a lot of police in the area.
Yeah, exactly. It'll feel like it's a living, breathing universe because of the way the mission broker is going to dish out the types of missions to keep everything interesting.
Well, Tony talking about the. I tell you, every time I see 3.0, it just makes me want to go, oh god, it freaking looks awesome.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, the detail in something just as small in the grand scheme of things as just the outposts. They look amazing, don't they?
Yeah, they look phenomenal.
The way that they've done the planetary surfaces now, and the way that everything blends, and the sheer view distance that you have in it, just makes them feel small, even though in some of the outpost templates they're quite large.
They are
in a number of buildings all connected together.
Oh, I didn't never notice that before. There's like information going up his arm on down there.
Yeah, it's awesome. They got that on the I think the Explorer armor has the same sort of deal, like a readout on your arm, which is good. I don't know whether it actually means anything or it's just fluff, but it's pretty cool fluff.
No, it's cool fluff. I like fluff. Fluff's good. Oh dear. So what was I was going to say something there, and I completely went out of my brain. Can't remember. It's gone.
Okay.
It's happens when you get old.
Yeah, I know all about that.
So I guess we could switch to the next one, because this one's kind of, I mean, it was.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it was longer than it needed to be, in my opinion. I mean, there's a lot of good information in there, but it just, I don't know. It didn't. It seemed longer than it needed to be. I mean, I would have preferred like the one that was basically like planet information would have been much longer than it was, and this one should have been a little shorter than it was. But that's just my opinion. I'm probably
yeah. I mean, to be honest, it was short. It was longer than it needed to be in some ways, because they didn't really, for obvious reasons, want to go into a huge amount of detail on how the mission broker actually works, as far as where, because obviously if everybody knows the ins and outs, they could potentially game the system by forcing it to spawn different types of mission, which is what they want to do. And I'm sure some people will work out how to do that, but it would have to be on a macro scale, given how the mission broker is supposed to work. So, you know, one of the bigger organizations, all their players would have to do certain types of missions to try and get it to spawn the other type that they want, for example, right? That's how I expect it's going to work.
How did that guy survive that?
Luckiest bloke in the world. It's obviously it'll be an extra from an action movie or something.
I know, right? It looks like every bullet like went around him, like, and he's standing there, and you know, in those movies where you're standing against the wall, and there's like the pattern around your body.
Yeah, it was Neo. But yeah, you know, it was good. It was informative, and it just goes to show that something which would be largely invisible to the player, you know, it's good that they wanted to share that sort of detail with us, because an awful lot of other games don't like this. Not there aren't any other games like Star Citizen, but you know what I mean. The way the missions get spawned, nobody bothers telling you about it, but you know, we get to know, so it's cool.
I don't think there are many game mission systems like this, though. I think it was probably close to the only one that I've ever heard of, where it's just like randomly spawning missions that are completely changing based on the geopolitical climate, and you know, there's 7 billion combinations or something stupid like that. You know what I mean? It's,
well, I mean, Elite Dangerous missions are procedurally generated, but you know, because they've got the whole universe simulation behind the scenes going on. But I don't think it's as complex as what the mission broker in Star Citizen is going to be, with all due respect to Elite Dangerous. But yeah, you know, it's like most things to do with Star Citizen, it's almost a unique beast in its own, and that's just one tiny little aspect of the whole.
Yeah. So this was the video we played the one from the second video first. So basically, this was the one where they were at 5 bugs. So this is him talking.
Seven. They had 7.
No, that's right, 7. And then what's his name said they were 5 on Saturday or Friday, I forget.
Yeah, Mr. Chambers tweeted out that they'd mashed a couple of them, so they were down to 5. This was as of Friday. Friday night. So yeah, you know, we're getting closer. I reckon next weekend we could see go for launch for the. I love that backdrop in that office, by the way. It's awesome. One of my favorite bits.
I miss Sean Tracy, man. I haven't seen him in ages. I miss Sean Tracy, and he's so funny.
That gentleman there on the left-hand side is obviously more interested in playing something on his phone than actually talking in the meeting. But
you know,
he's obviously not right.
He's
obviously
he's really engaged, isn't he?
He's obviously a really professional chap. He's up there in the Manchester office, but yeah, he's literally, maybe he's embarrassed being on video. I don't know, but sorry. Anyway, let's ignore that. But yeah, it's impressive. I think I don't know, man. It's 5 bugs. Do you reckon they're going to squish them by next Friday?
They should do, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're just going to go to Evocati, because they could, you know, find that, you know, I don't know. I'm just so jaded right now on like the release thing of Evocati that it's like, are they ever going to release it? Like, you know, I feel like they're like scared to release it. Like it might be.
I think right. I'm gonna nail my colours to the to the mast there, and I'm gonna say, yeah, we're gonna see Evocati, and I think we're probably gonna see it Thursday next week.
I hope so.
Before ATV.
I just think I don't know, because of so many delays and because there's so much feature creep and scope creep that has occurred during the last 3-4 months from when they said they were going to release it in June to originally, and then now it's like, oh, it'll be nearly October. I just, you know, it feels like they're scared to release it because they don't want to get the negative feedback if there is any negative feedback. But I'm
I
probably.
mean, come on. I mean, from what we've seen, you know, it's work in progress. It's effectively an alpha build.
Yeah.
The sheer amount of scope that's going to be in 3.0, even if they've scaled back a little bit on some of the features because of, you know, Erin just saying, look, get the important stuff out so that they can fly about, do some missions, all the rest of it, and we'll fix the other things which aren't quite right in iterative builds. You know, it's going to be awesome. I mean, there are going to be arseholes who are just going to complain and bitch, and you know, it's going to happen. It's the internet, you know. Lots of people try to get,
you shouldn't really try to put stuff out there if you can't take a bit of criticism, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, Christ, look at this. We do this every 2 weeks. We get some criticism, but we keep on going. You know, it'll be out. And you know, whilst you're right, you know, did previously think that you know, they got a bit of stage fright going on, but I don't think so. I think they just want to make sure that when people get into the game, they can actually at least have the thing running for an hour before it crashes. And I think they just had too many small crashes going on. I mean, look at that. I mean, you know, item 2.0 is another part of 3.0, which we've never even seen before. You'd be able to actually turn bits and pieces off on your ship. You know, that's awesome on its own, you know?
There's so many bits and pieces, like door locking and, you know,
it's just a whole lot of
subsumption, air traffic control. We'll talk about that now. But the air traffic controller system. When I heard about what they were gonna, where is it? Let's go forward a bit. Where is it? 15 minutes, I think. Or was it a bit further back than that?
Which are we looking at now?
The
first bit of the ATC.
Yeah. No,
that was
15. He was talking about this whole like their sort of way of looking at bugs, but I think so here it is.
Yeah, so this is the
asteroid landing.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's seen this before. This is new footage, or at least I haven't. So you got the render detection system working there. So you've got the second 3D box of the actual air traffic controller. So that little video that we saw in the MFD on the ship, if you were stood watching the air traffic controller at his station, he would actually be doing that. So it's not canned; it's live streamed to
that's what's crazy
player's ship.
You know, if they'd have told me when I first like pledged back in like 2013 that they would be doing like live like video recordings of NPCs doing like air traffic controlling and, you know, and stuff like that, I would have said this game wouldn't have been out for like another 10 years.
I don't think that's been done before. I think that's one of the unique things that CIG are doing for this game. You know, that it's all mocapped, all the rest of it. One of the things I think we're going to have to do when 3.0 is out, and if we can get on the same server, is I'm going to have to go and stand there and see if I can photobomb the landing request. I'm going to have to go and get my character and stand behind the ATC and just gesticulate into the camera. See if you can see it. I'm gonna have to try that. Yeah. Exactly. Or, you know, just randomly crouch and walk behind him in the background.
Hold a gun to his head right as he's doing it.
Well, I think, to be honest, I reckon they'll still have the armistice zone so that when you're actually landing, you're not able to pull your guns out.
Pretend like you're holding a gun to his head and say, "Let the guy land."
Or I'll just be stood behind him doing one of the dance animations. Should be good though. I mean, that sort of stuff. It just blows my mind when you think about it.
And the next thing you know, they'll be designing like, you know, pests on the station, like where bugs have the AI of their own and they just crawl through.
What bugs have, and then they have bugs on bugs.
Yeah. It'll be like, you know, insects, you know, they'll have these, you know, such detail that they'll be creating bugs that crawl around the floor and they have AI on their own and they create like nests, you know, and that's the kind of
something that just come into my brain whilst we were talking about it, right? One of the things we haven't seen is micro scale drones in Star Citizen, which you can use to spy on things, like to actually get, you know, like in, have you played Rainbow Six Siege?
Yeah.
Right, so at the beginning, when you're the attackers, you get that little robot that you have to try and find where the other team have set up, right? So you just fly about, sorry, you crawl about and all the rest of it, like a tiny little drone, which is like, what, this big?
Right.
But if they had flying ones like that, with the new camera system that they've got, you could just like fly about like a little fly because it'd be smaller.
I don't think they want to do that kind of. Maybe they.
Maybe they will. Like missions for like in Squadron. You never know.
It'd be interesting. I think it'd be interesting to have like a little like drones that fly around and give you scouting information, intel on the information if you're about to breach.
I wouldn't be surprised if the drones that the Reclaim are obviously going to be a much bigger scale of what I'm talking about. So you can use that to go into, a wreckage of a ship to see if there's anything worth salvaging.
Here we go. See, that's where you need to photobomb right there.
Yeah.
Right
it's probably going to be in a locked room you can't get into.
I really hope it's not in a
because
locked room.
Otherwise everybody's going to have the same.
Come on, you got to let us see it in action. Like I want to stand there and watch the guy talk to you while you're landing, and then I think that'll be great.
We'll try. We'll find. We'll see if we can do it.
But yeah, some great like immersion gameplay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I also like the fact that they're creating these characters in the ATCs. They're actually going to have their own names. Now, I didn't actually put on my notes the name of the person for Malevsky, but they did actually mention his name. Who's actually doing all the ATC stuff? But again, they're individual, and depending on where you're going to be going, the ATC is going to be different. So if you're trying to land on a Idris, for example, it'll be like proper officious and using all the right military slang and all the rest of it. But if you're landing on Olisar, it'll be similar but not quite as strict. And it'll be different.
Definitely.
Which is cool.
Adding flavor to it is super important, and I think the next level of like future games, each AI should be its independent, like bot, and have its own, sort of not consciousness, but like they have bots in like customer support now and stuff like that. And that's the next level, I think, where like each NPC has its own sort of mind, and it makes its own decisions about doing things, and goes off and does these things, and then you have like AI.
Yeah.
You're like, why is that AI there? Oh, he's doing this or that.
Well, imagine how cool this would be, right? So if they have shift changes in the ATC, so you've just landed, and Billy, the ATC, has just come off shift. So you're sat down in the pub on the station, and then he knocks up and he basically starts having a random conversation with you because he let you land about 10 minutes ago. How cool would that be?
Yeah, and then he starts chatting up the girl in the corner and takes her home,
Well, yeah. But obviously, you're not going to be standing there watching them having the conversation. That'd be a bit weird.
But as you're saying, that kind of AI, it's sort of like where it becomes almost a person by itself. It's indistinguishable from a real person. It just has its own desires and needs and wants, and just goes off and does those things independent of any sort of like predefined.
Well, with the actor status system, there's no reason why we couldn't see that in Star Citizen. Because they're going to have like health, probably tiredness, and when they've eaten and drunk eventually, all that sort of stuff. So there's no reason you tie that into the AI system. They could be living, breathing people with their own thresholds for what they want to do.
Right. I think that's the next level of AI. I mean, I don't think they're going to have that anytime soon in Star Citizen, where they're sort of like on their own independent thinkers. But it'd be pretty cool if they did. Mm-hmm. Although we probably wouldn't see it for another decade at that point.
Yeah, well, I mean, with the new patcher,
which is apparently done and ready to go.
They could just add in improvements to to the subsumption AI system as they go. So they could get there.
Eventually.
Yeah, this game's literally going to be iterated on almost infinitely. I can't see them going, oh, we're going to have Star Citizen 2, because the way this has been designed, there's no reason for them to do that. They could just keep going. That
would just drive you nuts, wouldn't it? Like in 5 years, they'd be like, oh, now we got Star Citizen 2. That's going to take another decade.
No, that's why I don't think it'll happen. When it's all in, all the tools that they've got, they'll just keep adding it and building content and create. We might see a new single player game that's being developed. So Squadron 42. Or whatever, or different, following a different squadron in the UEE. They could do that, but that's different because they'll just keep adding solar systems for us to explore, basically.
Yeah, hopefully. Does it use DirectX or Vulkan?
I think it's DirectX because I think I read somewhere a while back, and this is going back from memory now, that they were thinking about going over to Vulkan, but I think they canned it, and I don't know why.
Was there even something about them probably moving to Vulkan? But
yeah,
because I know, like, you know, games like have been out for 10 years and they're still on DirectX 9, and even when they do sort of an upgrade onto DirectX 11, the graphics are never the same, but the level of detail in this game should last it for at least a decade, I think.
Well, in Star Citizen?
Yeah.
Oh, crikey, yeah, I would have thought so. I'm not sure. That's something I'll have a think about. See if I can dredge it up. But I do remember them saying they were thinking of going over to Vulkan so that it's easier to port it over to other operating systems that support Vulkan. But I can vaguely remember hearing that it was pulled back, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I could be imagining things. I don't
pull back
actually
like
have.
VR, maybe. I don't know.
I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of everything back in the day. I'd have to go and look it up.
Have you heard anything about VR lately?
No, not yet. Literally been so close to pulling the trigger on picking up a Rift because they're down to like $499 with the controllers now.
There's a new one coming out which is an 8K, 4K in each eye. It's called MyPack or MiPack or something like that. Apparently,
at
the end of the year.
I mean, that's the thing. It's a bit because they're like not Nvidia, right? They're third party. You don't really know who to trust because there's loads of other, headsets you can buy. It's not just the Vive and the Oculus. There are others, but those are the two that are supported. And because they've all got completely separate systems that they use in the back end to actually get everything to work, there's no one common set of programming languages for them. So obviously this one you're talking about might be awesome, but unless it gets support from people, developers, it might not go anywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to leave it for a while. If the Xbox One X supports the Oculus Rift, if it supports the Rift, then I'll probably get one because then I could use it in the office and also downstairs in the lounge.
I have the with the Vive, and I don't use it that much. And the one thing that's missing from it, which you can buy now, I think, with the TPcast, is wireless version of the headset, so you don't have to have wires and be connected up to like a big cord at the back. And I don't use it because it's so irritating having to manage the cord and stuff like that. So the moment they start integrated wireless system, so you don't have that, you just have the headset, and then that's all you need, really, apart from the hand things. I think when that comes out, I'm probably going to sell this one and get one of those because having the wire is just super annoying. Having to plug it into the HDMI port every time, and it's I don't know.
It's not convenient, is it? I mean, I was just smiling then because you were saying wireless VR headsets, and I was just like, all right, okay, so eventually somebody's going to get to that point and they're going to buy this massive aircraft hangar with no walls, but they'll create games which actually exist within the confines of the hangar, and you literally just wander about looking like a complete muppet for people outside the game, but you're walking around this entire thing in the game, and obviously you're reacting to, because even though your brain will know there's no real walls there, but you'll be fed the information through the headset that there are, so it'd be quite funny. And it would also mean people wouldn't necessarily walk into each other as well, because in the game they'd know where the corridors are, and they wouldn't try to walk through walls, because you don't tend to try that, do you, really?
No.
Tends to hurt.
Yeah, I definitely think VR is very early at the moment, and there's not enough games for it either that are like high-end games, I mean, I think they're doing Skyrim VR, or they're doing Fallout VR, I forget. I think Bethesda.
Skyrim VR, really? You're probably going to end up having Skyrim for your frigging car soon. You play it, so you play on your bloody, your MFD in your car, so you drive along and it's got a joypad plugging out the side, so when you're stuck in traffic, you can, I'll play Skyrim on my car.
No, but VR is pretty fun in Elite Dangerous, so I think it'll be really fun in Star Citizen.
Yeah, that's the main reason why I'm thinking about buying it, because I play Elite Dangerous. That's one of the main games I play on the Xbox, and I do have it on the PC, and they need to join them up, so you have the same account on both. Thanks very much, because it's a bit pointless at the moment.
Yeah, that kind of stuff annoys me.
Yeah, well, there's no reason why not. It's just making people buy it twice for no reason, really, in my opinion.
Or even if you bought it twice, you should just be able to have one account. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, it's like the Xbox is all supposed to be about play anywhere, right? And they should make every developer have something in place so that if you want to sell something on the Xbox platform, people can buy it once and they get it on the PC as well, and they can play online from both at the same time, because the Xbox One X is as close to a gaming PC as we've ever had.
Yeah.
So sort it out. Anyway, that we're not talking about Xboxes. We're talking about Star Citizen.
So they didn't really do a very good job in editing this week, because it says last week's report indicated we had a total of 76 Muskfish issues. No, last week indicated it was 26.
It's literally just somebody's is updating the main bits and not paying attention to the other bits. It happens.
They're not updating the text and just saying, oh, just updating the image.
Even I've done it. You know, I've done it when I'm creating documentation, luckily without sending it out to the end user before I actually found the issue. But, you know, I've done it, especially if you're using things that are, you know, same every time. Like if you're going to do a health check on something, it's always the same thing. You know, you might keep the same flavor text and just change the bit in the middle. So you try and keep that bit generic. Obviously, somebody's forgotten that it's not generic at the top.
Yeah. So rotating and orbit planets are in, but have you heard anything about weather?
No. No, the only weather I'd seen was
the sandstorm.
Using those fancy. What's the actual technology called? No, it's basically like
the fog thing,
animated GIFs, if you like, which is put on top of the game world to make it look like you've got a sandstorm. Not a sandstorm, but local. They did it when they actually showed I think it was going back a couple of months ago now. They showed some like stones and whatever you on one of the moons, and then they showed like dust being blown around, and they said it's actually it's actually just a GIF that's been streamed over the top of what you're seeing. It's obviously a lot more complicated than that, right?
Because I was thinking of it, you know, the Reclaimer video when they're in that dust storm at the night time, and so that's probably not going to be possible in 3.0. I don't think. That sort of like storm at night time when it's dark and, you know, you're wandering around and, you know, aliens could jump out at any moment, you know.
Well, yeah, like or the Prospector video where you got the Vandal on the rock watching him.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It depends on what they want to do. I would have thought that if it's that windy, the player would be impacted as well. So mobility would be restricted, and obviously, you know, fighting would be slower because you'd have to fight against the air, you know, the actual wind to get your gun into a firing position. So I don't think that would be in 3.0. But you might be able to see the actual, you know, what it looks like, but it won't actually have any effect on the world, if you know what I mean. It'll just look.
I just haven't heard anything about weather in a long time, which generally means that it's not in. Because usually the things that are in, they tend to talk about a lot. I mean, they haven't talked about rotating and orbiting planets, I don't think, because it's kind of an edge case. They may get it in, they may not get it in. But
well, they kind of have to get it in if they want it to be, you know, the high fidelity.
Well, yeah. But they said here,
not for 3.0 though.
We are keen to make it feel like an organic and have the planets rotate. This will introduce a proper day-night cycle. I mean, the big issue with this, I think, is AI sort of not being able to find where it needs to go because everything's moving around. But I think they said they got it done. I don't know.
Well, fingers crossed. I mean, realistically, I'm sure that Mr. Bug Smasher himself could find a way to actually fix it so that, you know, they would just have to have like a rotational coordinate system on top of everything else they've got right now so that everything can be readjusted based on those statistics. Because planets aren't going to, unless they go for really small or planets in really high gravity or close to the sun of the system, they're not going to rotate that quickly, you know. So the updates would only need to happen like, you know, every half hour or something or whatever.
Well, they have to, yeah. I mean, they basically have to update the position of the item quite frequently. At least, you know, I think every minute would have to be. I mean, depending on speed of rotation, speed of orbit, you know, and
yeah, and also depends on how big the object is. If you know what I mean. If it affects like pathing inside a outpost, then Christ, yeah, they'll have to update it a lot quicker than every 15 minutes. Otherwise, you'll have people walking into walls all over the place.
Right, exactly. So, is this new? Do you know? You remember seeing space landscaping before? Like extra like space dust.
Yeah. I've seen that before. That's not new.
That's not new because I was like, I don't remember that, but my brain is.
They were making space look prettier by adding nebulae in the background and space dust.
Oh,
and
that's right. Yeah,
specular lighting through the dust and all that sort of stuff. So it's not new, but it might be the first time we've seen it in the schedule report. But they have talked about it before.
Man, you have a lot of cars driving by your house, dude.
It's a main road, dude. It's really annoying. And to be honest with you, if you can hear it that well, this microphone's shit. I need to change it because it's supposed to be only picking up stuff this side of the microphone, and everything else should be thrown away. That's what I get for buying a cheap microphone.
Apparently so. So yeah, I think that's about it, right? I don't think we got anything else to talk about.
I think we covered everything with the ATC.
Do you obviously say anything about the people who commented last week? I don't know.
No. I mean, it's great. I was, happy to have those comments, as I said, because I responded to the 2 people who did comment. And
you're very diplomatic. You got to be fair.
Well, one has to be. but
one has to be, yes.
Well, in the line of work that I do, I've got to take into account how my comments are taken as well as what I want to get across. So it's a case of making sure that the response fulfills what I want, but also provides the commenter the information they require, right? That's why
it was nice of him to say that he was a bit too aggressive in the second comment with the nothing, Jon Snow.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, to be honest with you, we've been doing this for quite a while now. The first few episodes, I went back and had a quick look at one of them, and obviously, because it was new, we were, on the money. We had everything there. There was none of this. Oh, I'm not entirely sure what that ship's called or anything like that. Because I think it's quite easy, and this is in all streamers. It's quite easy for people to actually forget after they've done this for a while, and they get comfortable with being on camera and comfortable with the fact that this is going out live right now, and will be going onto YouTube in a few days. That we're not just sat in our lounge having a chat. We're trying to get information across to people, which is useful information to them. And that's from people who've been following the game for, since the original Kickstarter days, all the way up to people who've only just picked the game up recently, right? So I personally had lost that focus a bit. So I was more talking about it as if everybody knew what I was going on about, which is fair enough. And without comments and critique like that, you don't improve, and you sometimes forget. So yeah, thanks very much for the comment.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Appreciate it. It was nice. It was nice to hear from people because when nobody comments, even I prefer to have someone comment and give a critique than nobody comment at all. So keep commenting, and you can always give us suggestions. We want to get better. We don't want to just be people get bored watching us. I know I was a bit sleepy. Because time.
Which is why we swapped it, and we're probably going to keep it this way now.
For a bit, anyway. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, for a little while, see how it goes. I mean, one of the things we might do as the channel evolves, whether we'll keep quantum feedback specifically for Star Citizen, or whether we end up turning it into a bigger thing, which is just general gaming. I don't know, because we end up bringing in a lot of comments, and this is something I've noticed again after going through the videos again. That we do mention a lot of things other than Star Citizen when we're doing these. I'm always banging on about Elite Dangerous. Then we talk about occasionally XCOM, and then Divinity 2, which we haven't mentioned before. We're both playing, so maybe we'll start branching out and just having general commentary as well as. But
we got to fill the time with in between Star Citizen releases with something, So I mean, I don't see it's necessarily a bad thing because a lot of people I see they're commenting on Reddit and on the Star Citizen Facebook group we're in, and just about does anyone have any games they can play right now which are good to tide me over until Star Citizen 3.0 comes out? Because I'm really freaking bored, that kind of sort of. So yes, there's tons of games out right now, really good ones like Divinity, Original Sin 2, phenomenal game, phenomenal.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing to bear in mind that unlike an awful lot of other streamers that the people watch, we're not in this to replace our day jobs or our income. This is something that we do in our own time to hopefully entertain people and hopefully pass on information that they have either not missed or use a different perspective than some of the other people on there. So things are going to be, a little bit different than your standard, in quotes, commercial streaming channels. But that's why we do it this way, because it's just effectively a bit of fun. But we hope everybody enjoys it.
You should have called it Lads Having Fun.
Lads feedback.
Yeah.
No, I like
Quantum Feedback. I like Quantum Feedback too. I think
I still think it's. They nicked it with Quantum Questions, didn't they?
I know.
It was really funny because I think we've done. Was it the first episode?
No,
we've done
like 3 episodes.
3. Okay.
Yeah, and then they started come out with Quantum Questions, and we're like, "What the hell, dude?" Yeah,
So I think we'll keep this to Star Citizen, and then maybe we'll start branch out into different things in another channel, perhaps either mine or Logic's other YouTube channel, just have other videos on it. Because we got lots to say. Because
I got lots of videos on my other channel. So
yeah, look it up. It'll be in the description of this video. I'd have thought. Do you link your other channel on there?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, have a look. I don't have much on mine because I've actually got a job, and oh, your face is awesome. He codes for a living, so he peaks and troughs a lot, whereas I've just got lots of stuff on most of the time.
Yeah.
But
I'm peaking right now because it's iOS 11. But
yeah, man. Well, are you going to get the iPhone X?
Yeah, of course I am. Nobody's getting the iPhone 8. Who's getting the iPhone 8? Nobody.
No one. Yeah, it's a bit weird. They should have just not bothered with the iPhone 8.
Basically, it's the iPhone 7S, really, because they didn't do a 7S. So it's like they just called it 8 for some weird reason. They should have just called it the 7S and had the 10. And then
they should have chucked the 8 away and not bothered with it and just said, like, this has got the X is going to be. And instead of the money we've saved by not creating an 8, we'll basically take the not hit and dial the price back of the X a little bit, because it's a lot of money, man.
Although they got a lot more tech in it. They got the OLED, like the OLED screen is a lot more expensive than a standard screen. So I mean, plus it's Apple, and they're bound to be expensive. But
yes. But they could always buck their own trend, couldn't they?
Yeah.
Or sell it for the same price as the previous one, but just don't make an 8.
Well, it's edge-to-edge screen. I mean, I know that a lot of Android phones have that already, but Apple doesn't. And Apple's its own beast. It's its own thing. And anything Apple does, people tend, in general, unless you're really an Apple hater, tend to be interested in it. So.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, we digress as we tend to at the end of it. I think we've covered everything in the schedule report, haven't we?
Yeah,
is there anything specific you wanted to comment on?
No, it was kind of a light schedule report because I think they're moving really. A lot of this stuff, Mission Giver stuff, has been moved to like later in September, but I think that Evocati is relevant to that. I think they're just worrying about like flying from planet to planet and landing, and that's really all they're worrying about right now.
Well, the 29th is Friday,
right?
So I personally think that they're pretty much happy that it's ready to go to Evocati by next Friday. So I think in their own minds they've made the decision that's what they're going to do, unless they come up with a really bad game-breaking bug between now and, say, I don't know, Wednesday when they start getting the build ready to be dished out. Because they did say in this week's ATV, the head honcho of the DevOps, I've forgotten his name again. Rubbish. Attention to details lacking. I need to look these things up. Said that they're ready to distribute whenever they get a build that's ready. So I think ETF.
Is it Smith?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think next Friday I wouldn't be surprised if it goes out to Evocati. Whether it's an expanded ETF stroke concierge stroke, whatever.
No,
this the first one. It's probably going to be Evocati.
It wants to be an NDA because they don't want any like, oh my god, this is so buggy, sort of comments. And if you put it in concierge or subscriber, then people will just subscribe for that moment and just comment on it. And I think they need to have it just Evocati for the first at least a couple of weeks.
All right. Yeah.
So I think
I'll go with that. I mean, I'm happy to, if it doesn't go anywhere near the concierge backers until the PTU, and we just picked out Atlas.
You just want to play. You're being selfish.
No, I want to test it, man. But it's okay if they wait for another 2 weeks, because I'm actually going away for a couple of weeks, working on site somewhere else. We won't have access to all of this technology. I'll just have my laptop, which won't be able to cope with the awesomeness of 3.0. But yeah, I reckon when we do this next week or whenever it is, I think once it's ETF'd, I think we'll probably do a special.
We got to do like weekly after once ETF.
We'll do it weekly.
Yeah, once Ivocati comes, we're gonna have to do it weekly because there's gonna be leaks. I'm sorry to say, there was leaks in 2.6, and there was a lot of discussion at the time about whether that's ethical to like leak, and I'm like, we had this discussion. You remember it?
Yeah, I was proper. I don't like leaks.
You were like proper, like, no, we don't do leaks, and I was like, to be honest, really, it doesn't really matter as long as people understand that, the information is it's an alpha and it's going to be buggy as all hell. Anyone who really loves the game as much as we do, or wants to see it succeed as much as we do, understands that. I think.
Yeah,
I think it's the people who come in sort of like checking on it every like 6 months, a year, and they're like, well, why hasn't there been any progress yet? And that's the kind of people that get upset about those kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be important to add that if we do present any leaked information from Ivocati, it won't be information that we have acquired ourselves.
No, it'll be on Reddit.
It'll be like linked to stuff we found from Reddit. So we're not going to be hunting for it.
No,
because we're not spoilers, right? We want to make sure that we present the game in the best light possible, but also giving constructive feedback in the channel when we feel it's necessary. But yeah, we'll be talking about whatever we can find. But yeah, it's exciting. ETF getting hold of 3.0, that'd be good. Yes, we've waited so long, but to be honest, I think right now we just want to see it out the door, and it's good that it's almost there.
Yeah, as long as it gets to Ivocati, that to me is like the point where I think they're happy with the fact that it's ready for prime time. I mean, it's ready to be out in the world, and I think that's the biggest part of it. Once it's Ivocati, I think everyone will calm down. It'll be sort of like just a lot of like fever pitch excitement. They might even get a few more sales, but let's forget about talking about sales because that's a whole another subject.
Oh, go on. You wanted to talk about sales. We'll talk about that at the end, right, before we finish up.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think once Ivocati comes, people will totally chill. There won't be any more of these bitching comments on the Reddit or on the forums or on Spectrum or whatever about how the fact that we haven't had a patch in 10 months, which is true. It's a valid point. And I'm sort of in that sort of thing where we haven't had a patch for 10 months, and I think they made a mistake in that respect about sort of not like having an interim patch or intermediate patch in between those points. But I think those things just turned out the way they did, just out of their hands sort of thing.
They couldn't really add anything new because everything kind of meshes together.
Yeah, they could have added ships though. But
yeah. They could have added a couple of ships, yeah, sure. But whatever, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's done now. It's over with, and just forget about it and just move on. And once Ivocati comes, we'll just sort of all just sit there and like, sort of waiting patiently for the PTU to go live.
Yeah, and I'm waiting to see which where we get in line.
Yeah,
that'd be the thing. That's always the thing if we don't if they don't expand the ETF to include other people, and it just goes ETF PTU.
They'll probably do subscribers on concierge just like they did last time, because I definitely think they got a lot more feedback because I was part of that early one, and I was updating the patch every day, and it was like 30 gig a day, and it was like a massive patch update every single day, and I was on Spectrum, I was giving my feedback, I was talking to the CIG about it, and I think that sort of feedback, I definitely think it helped 2.6, because originally 2.6 was a bit of a mess to begin with in terms of like balance and flights and stuff, and then they adjusted so many things, because originally it was super slow and sluggy because they reduced the speeds too much. And then
a lot of people hated that, but they kind of got used to it now.
Well, but they upped it a bit. They upped it about 20% from what it was originally, because it was really slow before. And then some people complained, they were like, I feel like I'm driving a VW van or something, So
it's hard because obviously with apart from the PU itself, when you're flying about in Vandal Swarm or whatever, apart from the asteroids, you don't have a way of really realizing how fast you're actually flying.
Yeah.
Because space is black and there's nothing to actually give you an idea of speed, right? So, but I think it wasn't the speed so much; it was the
acceleration,
the acceleration, the responsiveness of the ship, and the engine itself, which is why they needed to improve it. But yeah, you know, hopefully next time we sit here and talk about Star Citizen, ETF will be out.
I fingers crossed. I think everyone's looking forward to it. So, and
Yeah.
I don't think, do we really want to talk about sales? Because it's just going to get everyone annoyed. But
No, let's skip it. I mean, well, basically, we'll just put, you know, I'll talk about it, right? Because you can't help but you can't help but be negative about it, right?
Yeah,
so
I think it's ridiculous.
I mean, it's good that there's sales. We know that it funds the game, and it also is the only time anybody can currently get a ship with lifetime insurance. This is the concept sales now. We had hoped, and that's me and myself and Logic had hoped, that we wouldn't see another one before 3.0 was at least ETF. However, I think we both have to agree that the schedule for the sales of concepts is already done behind the scenes, and it has no impact on the current live build, whether it's 3.0 or whatever. It's always going to be sold at this point. It's just a little bit unfortunate that we've had a number of concept sales before 3.0 being available to the ETF at least. You know, but there you go. It's a space bike, the X1, which is Origin's answer to the Nox. The Nox Q, rather. No, the Nox. I was right the first time. So I'll be interested to see. I mean, the concept art was a bit. I don't really know what. It looks very similar to the Nox from what I've seen, but we'll see. We'll find out when we get the information on Friday. But hopefully, we'll be looking at the fact that the ETF have got the game, and it'd be like, oh, whatever, it's a sale. Yeah, it might not sell particularly well.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think I've stopped buying anything until they release 3.0, because I think it's disingenuous for me to spend any more money on the game. I'm happy to spend more money, but they just basically have not released anything for 10 months, and I just don't see the need, and I just don't like the idea of concept sales. I personally think they should get them hangar ready before they start selling them, but that's just my personal opinion. Because at least then, you know, you can check out the ship and see if you want to buy it. And I mean, I know it supports the game, and that's great. And some people like concept sales. I don't particularly like them. I think they're too much too soon. And they got the pipeline going. So what, you know.
Exactly. I mean, one of the things my take on it way back, I think it was over a year ago now, I created a thread on, before Spectrum was out, about the idea of a virtual sales room. A module, if you like, within the launcher where you could run in, and obviously in game it would be accessed via whatever, some other means, or you could physically go there, where you could actually walk around all of the ships that are hangar ready without actually having to first either get it with rec and then go into Arena Commander and get out and have a look at it, or buy it yourself and stick it in your hangar or whatever. So you can literally just go in and have a look at all the ships that hangar ready, get in, you know, sit in the chairs, see if you like it or not, before you actually have to commit, whether it be in rec or buying the ship, just to see whether you like it. You know, an easy way of doing that would just make it so that in the hangar you can always spawn every single ship that's hangar ready, so you can have a look for now. Because those, for me at least anyway, being able to see what it is you're buying is a far better way to get me to buy something than to show me a fancy piece of art to say this is what it will be. And if nobody knew anything about a new ship until it was hangar ready, people would be much happier about the purchases they've made because they can physically see it. That's the biggest issue, I think. I mean, obviously they're doing really well out of the concept sales, and they have done because of the extra money they've had. So people are buying it at concept, but I would argue that a lot of that is because of the lifetime insurance. If it didn't have LTI, they probably wouldn't sell at all.
Yeah, I think that's why I buy them. The ones I have bought at concept is because of LTI, because I wanted like the Nox, but that, you know, I bought the Nox, tons of the Nox, because I wanted the LTI so that I could CCU up to whatever I wanted.
Yeah, the thing is, everybody does it. They buy the smaller LTI ships at concept for LTI, and they just use them as update tokens, which completely spoils the whole point of having a sale at the end of the year, at the anniversary sale, because most ships become
all my Noxes.
Most ships become available again at the anniversary sales, and then all of these tokens are then upgraded to whatever ship you want with LTI. So it means the original people who bought the ship at a concept stage with LTI are no longer having anything special. So it defeats the whole point of LTI. So whatever. I didn't want to talk about it in this detail, damn it. But yeah, I just think the system is just there to be abused, and people abuse it, and there's nothing anybody can do about it because CIG sells their ships in the way they do.
Yeah, I bought the Buccaneer, and I wouldn't have bought the Buccaneer. I bought the Buccaneer before it came out, and I wouldn't have bought it if I'd have seen it beforehand.
You bought the concept, didn't you?
Yeah, and I wouldn't have bought it if I'd have got into the ship and flown it around a bit. I wouldn't have bought it. I would have just saved my money for another ship. But I can just like upgrade it, and that's probably what I'm going to do at the anniversary sale. So
yeah, the ability to melt stuff is all well and good, but it's hard for people to make a informed decision on what they're buying until they've actually able to get in the ship and at least see whether they like it or not.
I mean, I'm not poor, but I still don't like to waste my money, So I mean,
yeah, exactly. But anyway, we'll see. It's just the way things are going. I can't see, and there's no reason from CIG's perspective for them to make a change to the way they sell things because they're making a lot of money out of it. It's just the whole LTI aspect of it. We know it's a load of smoke and mirrors now, so why not just give every single ship LTI and just ignore that and allow people to buy stuff on concept? Just give them something else other than LTI, because it's a polluted boon, shall we say?
Give you like 3 skins or something, like
like they did with the Eclipse. They had the blue military skin if you bought it at Warbond. Physical differences would probably do better as a hook and be a little bit more fair to everybody, shall we say, than just the LTI side of things.
I do have another topic to talk about, but we've been going on long enough. And
what is it? What is it?
Well, I was thinking about it. What do you think about how do you want to experience the game when you get it? Because if you had bought all the ships in the game, what are you going to do when you start playing? Like, are you going to what I was thinking of doing is buying a new account, having the other account as my guy, one guy, but then having a fresh start as well, like starting with just an Aurora or and then seeing how you know what I mean, make it more difficult, because I like making games more difficult for myself. I don't like easy games, so I love the game to support it, but I also don't want it to be like, oh well, I've done everything. What do I do now?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, just having access to that ship doesn't necessarily mean that you've spoilt the grind to buy the ship. You still need that ship to be able to do the type of missions you want. So, for example, if you're interested in exploration missions, the lowest ship you can get, which can do it, arguably, is the Mustang Beta.
The Aurora actually has a bed.
Yeah, you could do it in the ES as well, I suppose, but the Beta has a bit more cargo and all the rest of it. So you can still explore things, but you can't plot jump points.
Right, but my point is, like, when you first start, like, say you just start with an Aurora, and you have.
Do you want to start as a level 1 toon? Is what you're basically?
Yeah, basically what I'm saying. Like, no gear, no nothing. Make my way in the world with basically as a newbie. Basically, I have nothing. I have a gun, I have a ship, and that's it.
I mean, you could start another account. I mean, I haven't really put an awful lot of thought into it, to be honest with you. I mean, I do have the new reworked Aurora on a buyback, which is LTI. So if I make mistakes, I'm covered, right? So you would have to, if you wanted to start again, ideally you would want to have a ship which you didn't have to worry about it getting blown up, because but it's a little hard to do because
a problem. But
they do. I don't know. I mean, I do have a lot of small entry-level ships I could use.
I'm just saying because, like, if you go in as my current account, I'd have like a Buccaneer, I'd have a Caterpillar, I'd have a Reclaimer, probably,
And you have a lot of money that comes with those pledges too.
And and I'd have all these things, and I'd be like, okay, so what do I do? I mean, I guess it's just upgrading the ships is what the next stage is of, like, because like if I have just an Aurora, I have to work to get to those ships. Then I have to work to upgrade those ships, and that is a completely different sort of mentality and mechanic as opposed to just like having every ship and then having to upgrade. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It depends on how concerned you are of the longevity of the game if you start with a Reclaimer.
It really
or
I guess it
something
really
like that.
depends how big the universe is when they go for gold. Like whether or not it's just like 10 space orbit or solar systems, or whether it's like 100 solar systems, like, or 90, whatever they.
I mean, it might be an idea perhaps for us to. I mean, because it doesn't cost a lot for one of those starter packages which comes with Star Citizen, because we don't really need to worry about buying one of the packages which has Squadron as well, because we've got that on our main account. So maybe it's something we should both do and just see what we think.
See how difficult it is to like progress it, and like although I got to buy one for my kids because they're going to be my gunners for sure.
Oh, well, your kids are going to play it?
Yeah.
Do you reckon they're going to be able to?
My daughter Gwen, she's like a Guild Wars 2 ninja. She's like
but it's a little bit different because it's the whole 6 degrees of freedom stuff.
Yeah, but
do you think she'll have the spatial awareness?
She'll probably be like 10 by the time the game comes out. So.
Well, yeah, true. Yeah, well, that'd be cool. I mean, I don't think. I mean,
she's
my kids don't have
now, so I mean, she's like a
my
ninja
kids don't have a
Guild
computer.
Wars.
This is the only machine. Well, it's not actually. There's a couple of the laptops, but it's the only computer that's.
I was playing the new Guild Wars expansion with the girls today. We all grouped up together.
Yeah, I did think about it, but
there's too many other games to play right now. I know.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think I've still got my World of Warcraft subscription, so I'm still spending a tenner every month just to keep it going. But I can't remember the last time I logged in. I think I might have to make the decision finally that those sort of traditional MMOs I just don't have time to play anymore and just uninstall them all. Because I just don't have the time to do it. You know, with work and then following Star Citizen and then all the other stuff that's coming out. It's just, I think that sort of gaming I might have to step away from finally. Well, I've done it before and ended up going back to whatever.
I believe that when I see it, buddy.
Yeah, it probably won't happen, will it? Let's be honest.
Yeah. Games for life.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm always going to be playing games. It's just whether the traditional MMO side of things like Guild Wars and Warcraft, whether I can just say like can't play them anymore. That's it.
I'll be on my Zimmer going, I'm gonna go play some EverQuest now.
I gotta go I've got a raid. Anybody found my special mouse which I could use because my hands are like this because I've got a gamer's claw. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But at the end of the day, what's going to happen, right? With all the Star Wars stuff going out, somebody's going to be working on a new Star Wars MMO, which is going to be fucking amazing, right?
And when that Star Citizen engine, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, when it comes out, I'll be playing that because it's Star Wars. Anything Star Wars, I'll probably play. So
it's a shame Old Republic turned out the way it did.
Yeah, that was a real bummer. I had a lot of hope because I really enjoyed BioWare games in general. And I was hoping it was going to be amazeballs, but unfortunately, what they did was turn basically KOTOR 3 and try to make it multiplayer, and it kind of didn't work for me.
It's okay. It was fun-ish. It was okay. It wasn't.
I think that was the last game before Star Citizen where we were like proper following it, wasn't it?
Yeah,
we were both heavily into what
nuts. So what are you gonna do?
The Force is strong in this podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we're going to descend into talking random stuff, and this is a Star Citizen podcast. I have to remember.
Citizen podcast. Okay,
so just to recap, right? So we are now, as of the Sunday, the 24th of September, over here in Blighty, anyway, down to 5 bugs. Last time I checked Twitter, that means that we're quite likely to have the first release of ETF, which is the Evocati Task Force, for those who aren't familiar with it, which are the external testers that help Star Citizen QA deal with making sure that the build is ready to go to the PTU proper. I think the first ETF build will be next Friday, I believe, if not beforehand. And then, it's started then. The trigger's been pulled, as you quite rightly said. CRG think it's ready for prime time. They just need to make sure the ETF can replicate and solve the bugs that they found of. So I think an awful lot of the ETF is literally, can you confirm that this bug happens in the way that we're sure it is? We think it works. And then slowly but surely it'll go to the PTU and then live before Christmas, hopefully. It'll be good.
Sounds good.
And then we'll start doing other stuff rather than just us talking at the cameras going, yeah, Star Citizen, woo! We'll start playing games and streaming those too.
Yeah, I will be, for sure. And I'll tag you in, and we'll sort of photobomb in
Yeah, we definitely have to try that. These are the things we got to try, right? We have to see if we can get into the ATC, and one or the other of us needs to try and stand behind it when the person's trying to land for shot, so we can just have that. Literally 10 seconds worth of camera, because it would be funny. And then we can both, with the other person will then try it, and then we'll have a vote and see which one was the funniest. And then there's the whole jumping out of the back of a cutlass and seeing if we can catch each other, because we have to see if we can replicate the Gamescom stream stuff that was happening, because that looked really cool.
I also just want to see what happens if you actually go splat when you hit the floor. I want to see that.
Well, I suppose we could literally just we could fly a ship at the same height and then eject from that ship, and then see who hits the ground the first. We could try that. See that for giggles.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's exciting, everybody. 3.0 ETF next week, hopefully. And if that does happen, we'll have we'll go back to our weeklies. And for the time being, it will be other way around. Morning for me, evening for him. And it works a bit better for me as well, because the wife's not shouting at me in the evening then saying, well, you never spend any time with me. You're always on the bloody computer. Anyway, so I shall say goodbye. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe, comment if you want, and we'll see you hopefully next week.
Take it easy.